Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron. This is Jason with me, and I'm afraid the show is not going to be up to our usual level of excellence. If you stuck around at the end of last week's show, you saw how I was viciously attacked from behind by that coward calculating Chris Lahan. I have sustained grievous injuries, and my lawyers will be in touch. We are seeking full restitution, just rewards in the form of multiple draft picks. He has not heard the last of this. That puny human leotard can't hurt me. 'Twas but a ruse. Hey, so what's up?
Uh,
Yeah.
that was one of the great moments in YouTube show histories. In fact,
Oh yeah.
it was the greatest moment in the history of this show for sure. After speaking of,
Yeah.
what week
Up
is
for
this
a wedding.
recapping, and what week are we looking forward to?
This is the week 13 recap by my count.
Yeah,
If you concur.
yeah.
Looking ahead to week 14, final week of the playoffs. Traditionally, this was the most exciting week of the season for me back in my old life as commissioner, getting to figure up all the playoff scenarios, seeing what each team needed to secure a playoff spot or to fail. But you knuckleheads, under the leadership of Callow Chris Lahan, they can't even manage that. There is close to zero intrigue this week. This is the worst final week of the season I can remember.
Do you blame it on the extension of the NFL season to the one extra week?
No, I think the league is just real bottom heavy right now. This is a queen's kind of a league, a real big bottom. Talk about mud flaps. This league's got them. It's a bad. There's just a lot of bad teams. There are a lot of bad records. Like you look at the rosters, oh, this should be a good team, but just a lot of just trash records.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's do the
yeah,
recap and
yeah.
get to seeing what we got this upcoming week, because I think there's some
Yeah.
intrigue that you may not, but you don't think so. But we'll see.
Well, yeah. Okay. So first up, Aaron defeats Josh, 140-90. Wow. Nice to have a 50-point win to erase the memory of the 57-point loss he handed me back in week 2. If you got to watch the Bengals game, there was this moment. They've got to have the first down, or Mahomes is going to get the ball back. It's 3rd and 11. The Chiefs are all over Burrow. And he throws it just right over the outstretched arms of the defensive tackle, and T. Higgins is not open. The defensive back is spooning him, and somehow Higgins just makes the catch, and it clinches the game. And it filled me with so much joy. And yeah, I think two things are true. I think the Cobras are not the best team in the league. However, you teams that are a little bit better, truth number 2 is for you. You do not want any part of these Cobras in the playoffs. The Cobras are a ruthless terrorist organization determined to wreck your season, and we are coming. And I hope all that shit is true, because I think the Cobras and the Ghosts are going to face again in a rubber match in round 1 of the playoffs. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. And it's really tough to beat somebody again. So,
Ooh.
I don't know.
But Josh had all his players at full strength and couldn't crack 100, though. Your Dallas Cowboys defense it is a weapon, man. It is a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so
it was silly
24 points seemed low. It seemed low. I mean, they are terrified. Yeah. And Micah Parsons is almost like having a wide receiver 1 running back run. Like, he's so stinking fun to watch on the field.
Yeah.
And they're an amazing asset to your team right now. But also Joe Cool Burrow. So I feel like me having Joe Cool for 2 years, I traded him to the right team, because Joe is this almost more villain, where Herbert is more of like this kind of pretty boy. I think that Herbert is more Daniel Caruso and Joe Burrow is more Cobra Kai. I just think that it fits the league incredibly. And if I think the top 2 QBs in the league right now, if I wanted them, would be probably Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow. And that matchup was incredible. How about Joe winning his last 3 games against Kansas City? The Bengals seem like they own the best team in the AFC. It's so great.
Yeah, it's a lot of the real life intrigue is fantastic.
I don't know if great's the right word, because I would rather root for Kansas City, But I love that game. I love that matchup. And I think the top 3 teams in the AFC are the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. And I can't wait to see what happens in the AFC Championship game this year and which 2 of those 3 teams are going to meet.
Yeah, I love watching them, but it feels like I'm on a surfboard, and it's like, oh, when are we gonna fall? But we keep riding, and it just keeps going, and you're like every game. How do they do that? How do they beat the Titans? Without Chase? How do they beat these Chiefs 3 times in a row? And you're riding that surfboard, and it's so much fun.
It's so great.
Yeah,
you're not even full strength. Mixon hasn't been back for 2 weeks with the concussion issue, and here you had a weekly winner this week, which always feels good. So let's go to the next game. This is terrible. I don't want to.
Have to. Jay defeats Chad 128-113. Vipers moved to 4-9, winner of 2 in a row. Needed one more win along the way to make your belief in them come true. But they get to be the spoiler here. They dropped the Rompers to 4-9, and they end their chances of postseason glory, I believe. Tom Brady has been just remarkably mediocre this season. He looks like garbage for 3.5 quarters last night, and then just flips the switch and gives Chad about 35 points every week. It's weird to watch.
Yeah, I just Jalen Hurts, I think, had 50 points by halftime. The Eagles look so good. I think there's a way for Jay to make the playoffs. Perhaps not. I feel like if John beats the Pharisees, keeping him at 5 wins, and Jay beats his opponent this week, I believe that Jay gets in with 5 wins because he has a better divisional record than the dude abides, who would be 0-6 in his division. So maybe I'm off.
Well, the issue is that the dude abides only has 5 wins this season, but 3 of them are against the Vipers, the Hellhounds, and the Rompers.
Oh, so he wins.
Dude abides got a tiebreaker. It doesn't matter.
He wins.
Nothing matters this week.
I was looking at it I had forgotten about the dumb head-to-head versus. I was so focused on the divisional record, and I saw that with the loss, Carr would be 0-6. So we're solidified. It's just jockeying for position. The bottom 4 are already solidified. Yeah. Well, that makes this a little bit less exciting of a week and a podcast or YouTube show. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
Jay's got to be my favorite. Jay's got to be my favorite team to not make the playoffs of all time. Like, you wouldn't want to face that team, but we wouldn't want to face anybody on the Rompers. The Rompers have Adams and Jefferson and Mark Andrews and are missing the playoffs.
Yeah. And Hellhounds have some pretty good players too.
Okay, we're gonna get that. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I just wanted to say back on Jay, like, James Cook looks like he's trending the right direction. He's the most touches he's had all season.
Yeah.
Drake London seems legit. Like, he got 12 targets. He's making some plays. And on Chad's side, that was a really good score. 113 points. Would have beaten a lot of teams in the league, but Jay just brought the thunder. That the Dolphins run game running into the 49ers was just too much. These guys can play each other in the first round of the alternate bracket. So we might get a rematch there.
Is that officially called the Toilet Bowl, or is that just what I've called it?
I was trying to be nice to the Poo Bowl. Next up, Shane defeats False John 120-99. Shane 11-2, winner of 2 in a row, our current number 1 seed. False John drops to 4-9, loser of 4 in a row, has not been over 100 points in a month. And I don't think there's a roadmap to the playoffs.
No, you already laid that out. I was completely wrong. The Blue Chippers missing the playoffs of Tua, Waddle, and St. Brown. Just hard to imagine and believe.
It's really unfathomable. Yeah.
And Waddle gets a little bit hurt. That's an amazing stat that you just gave us. Not breaking 100 points with that roster. He'll be a force to be reckoned with next year, especially with all those draft picks he's going to have.
Yeah. I think, did he just leave the show? So I didn't look up the number, but this is a lot of years in a row for the Hellhounds to not make the playoffs. Like, has John made the playoffs? How is this possible? Like, it seems like he's always got years of got good players, but I don't know how many years in a row this is. But feels like blasphemy to invoke this, but it's almost Brad-like. Like, how is the third winningest team of all time? Like, he's got the third most championships. He's also the new Brad. Like, I can't wrap my brain. I don't know. On the other side, Shane just keeps going, just knocking teams down, just wrecking seasons.
Yeah.
It's like we say, Russell Sweat Sox, they get big games from so many different guys. Like, you don't know which one's going to ruin your week, but it's usually one or two of them. And AJ Brown is just sick, just in a different class from the rest of the guys.
That catch he made when the ball he just falls into his arms through the entire body.
That was a beautiful
defender.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah, beautiful.
He is very special, and I don't know. The Eagles look really, really good, and he's got Sanders, he's got Devontae Smith, he's got AJ Brown, and the Bills look really good. So he's got two and just incredible teams that he's able to ride right now. Shane looks great. Our only hope, I mean, one of the hopes that we have for the league is that, you know, we're in the middle of the basketball season. So there's no way Shane's watching this. There's no way. Like, he is in the middle of, you know, dog fights, the Bulldog basketball way, you know, twice a week. You know, he's got these games. And so our hope of the league is that he just does not remember that he's in this league when it comes to Saturdays, because he's so focused on Friday nights. So,
well, nobody mentioned it to him.
Well, he's not going to watch this, so we're good.
Yeah. Next up, Jason defeats True John 97-48. Karate Kid moves to 8-5, winner of 4 in a row, clinches the Running with the Devil division, clinches the number 3 seed in the playoffs. The Pharisees dropped to 3-10, just a disaster of a season. This game was embarrassing, and you should be ashamed of yourself. This Pharisee season has been so okay. Like, at work, we do burn consults is one of the things that goes through my office. Like a rural hospital will have a burn patient, and they email these pictures in, and then they get consulted with our burn doctor. And keep with me, I'm going somewhere here. But so at work, every once in a while, these just horrific, gnarly pictures of burn victims, they come across my email. And the way some of those pictures make my stomach feel, like, that's how the Pharisees make me feel.
Well, as someone who's married to an OBGYN, I learned early on in our marriage to never look at Katie's camera roll, because I have seen some things that humans should not see.
You don't unsee those things.
Yes, you can't unsee them. Some horrific things on that camera roll. Yeah. I was in the office with John before the Lamar Jackson 2-point injury game, and he had said that it feels like this season the 10 plagues in Egypt have visited his team. Might be fun to have him on as a special guest one of these weeks to go through all those plagues that have ravaged his team. But man, I was worried about not clinching the division. But when I get the notification that Lamar Jackson's out for the game, I buried my head in my hands.
Yeah.
Proud of the Karate Kid. Proud of the 4 wins to go from 4-5 to 8-5 feels great. But been spending extra time at the altar this week for my boy Ken Walker the third. Yeah. Worried about that injury after losing Cooper Kupp. Everyone's had a bunch of injuries, but I feel like I lost 2 blue chippers potentially for the playoffs. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and put Isaiah Pacheco in the starting lineup this week, and he deserves a shot. He deserves a starting position. We're going to see how he does in the starting lineup this week.
Well, this is the week to test out new lineups.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Brandon defeats Jeremy 117-60. Jolkin Tolkien moves to 6-7, secures a playoff spot while sporting a losing record. Puts an end to a 4-game losing streak. Dude abides drops to 5-8, and despite losing 2 in a row, has somehow clinched a playoff spot. Brandon with 117, like, he looks like he's ready for a playoff run. He does. Solid game all around. Yeah. Made the wrong choice at quarterback, but it did not matter against Jeremy's flaccid effort. The dude's just limping into the postseason. Like, Jeff or Shane, they should be excited about that matchup, whoever gets to play him.
I completely agree with everything you just said. Brandon's team is rounding into form, coming at the absolute right time. He's been super unlucky. His DVOA has got to be great. His points against are still super high, even with this week. Yeah. We've talked about a particular player who will not be named, and I think I'm just going to skip that. So let's keep going.
Yeah. I always wish we seeded the playoffs by making the top teams choose their opponent. Like I push for that every year. It never gets traction. But could you imagine how exciting just the stress of choosing your opponent, or just the triumph when the top seed loses to somebody they chose to play? Like we could do a live show, like everybody reveals their picks, and then we get opponents' responses. I don't know. It'd be some good chaos.
It'd be awesome.
Last one, I guess. Game of the week. Jeff defeats Chris 87-7 to 86-5. Jeff goes to 11-2, winner of 7 in a row. Truly a dominant team. Chris is 6-7. The loss ends a 3-game win streak. This game was nasty. Jeff had a really down game, but got just enough. He's got to hope this is not one of those. This is just one of those games and not a trend of just a trip down the toilet. It was his first game under 107 weeks, so I guess he's not worried.
Yeah, in fact, since we're here, I'd like to just do a little quick breakdown of that game. Would that be okay with you if I went ahead and did that little breakdown of the game? Okay, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and go to the teleprompter then. So as you can see, we had this is what happens right before this is at 10:01 p.m. You have Mahoney ahead by exactly 10 yards. And just 1 minute later, with a catch down the middle, Dalton Schultz with the moving from 1.1 to 3.3. you had the Rhinos go up by the 1.2 yards, so ahead by 12 yards. So just the breakdown you see here on the left, you've got the 10:01. On the right, you've got the 10:02. You can see the times there up on the top, 10:01, 10:02. You can see at 10:01 that there was an 84% chance, according to the algorithm, the RT Sports. That again, let's look at that a little bit closer. Let's like, boom. Okay, 84% chance right here for Chris to pull out the win. But as you can see, what happens is CeeDee Lamb, you would think that Chris would be feeling pretty good about his chances with CeeDee having a great game and Dalton Schultz doing nothing. But then, boom, right there, Dalton Schultz with the seam route right down the center with a 22-yard catch there. And you see that what happens right after that catch, still it was favored for Chris to win the game with a 52 to 48% chance win, but not another point was scored for either of these teams. And you can see here, with the win, that big catch put an end to it with the Rhinos coming out on top. So that's your breakdown of the game of the week. And congrats to Jeff and the Rhinos. Has a shot to be the number 1 seed.
That is some production value there. We're getting sponsors for sure. Oh my gosh. I do think Jeff should be alarmed at some of the scores he's getting from guys that he's gonna really need to count on here soon. Like George Pickens looks like the real deal, like talent wise, but man, the Steelers have been littered with guys that look like great receivers, and the Steelers just can't get them the ball, can't take advantage of it. I don't know. Mike White outscored Patrick Mahomes here. It's too bad Dawson Knox and Cortland Sutton, delivered the rare double goose eggs. And Mahoney left Cam Akers on his bench. What an idiot! Never mind that Akers this week outscored his last 8 weeks combined. Of course he was on the bench. Nostradamus would not have started Akers. I mean, this was dumb. Did any picks catch your eye this week? Any trades, waiver wire? Waiver wire. Yeah, 5 Jets were claimed on Wednesday, which I think is a record for one waiver cycle. 4 from the same team is probably a record, but we had 5 Jets in one day of waivers.
That was my only commentary. I just felt like that was such an amazing moment. The power of Mike White, or perhaps the disaster that was Zach Wilson, allowing everybody to be super excited to pick up a bunch of Jets players. And I was really proud of Mike White because Mike White headed into the half had 5 points. And I really felt like Brandon's warning on the text thread to Chris to not get too excited was coming true. But Mike White had an awesome second half. And I got to say, although I don't want this to happen, Garrett Wilson looks like a future star in the NFL. That guy looks so good a second week in a row. I was hoping that Mike White fall off a cliff in the first half may have cooled off Garrett Wilson, but I don't know if there's going to be much cooling off Garrett Wilson. So
he looks like just a comet, just rocketing through. Yeah, I love him.
well, you'd
I
like him
do.
more than Drake London. You'd like him more than George Pickens. I mean, what rookie wide receiver would you want more than him right now? I'm really curious
Yeah.
how Jamison Williams will do, but he's been traded so much. I don't even remember whose team he's on.
Josh, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Let's look ahead. Chris versus Josh.
Yeah.
First up. I guess Chris just rides Mike White till he gets bucked off. You know, he outscored Mahomes. I don't know why he can't outscore Dak this week. Of course, Dak is playing the Texans, so could be a lot of points for the Cowboys. Jamar Chase is back, and that dude's so awesome. Like I forgot in the month that he was gone, I forgot like, oh, he's just better than everybody. Josh's all-pro running backs have looked a little more mortal lately. I think Mahoney Magic hits a little speed bump here. Chris beat the Ghost by 3 points in week 3. I think Josh evens the score, gets the win.
It's hard to pick these games when we now know because of your expertise and commish experience and figuring out.
It's not for sure.
I don't know. I don't want to do too much looking forward to the playoffs, but when I see that Derrick Henry, who can't be tackled when it's cold, facing the Chargers and then Houston at home and Dallas at home, I just feel like perhaps Derrick Henry is the anti Adrian Peterson, because for years the Ghosts had Adrian Peterson who would fall apart in the playoffs. So I'm very curious to see if King Henry is the opposite of AD. So looking at this matchup, Dak versus Houston is all I need to know. I'm not taking Mike White. I'm going to take Josh.
All right. Next up, Aaron versus Jeff. There is playoff ramifications here. Jeff can clinch the #1 seed with a win and a Shane loss. Cobras beat the Rhinos by 25 in week 3. Cobras and Russell Sweat Sox are the only ones to know the taste of beating Jeff this season. Wow. Tall task to do it twice. So Cobras have a couple starters on bye, really late bye week this year, but you could make a case the Colts could really use it, after what Dallas did to them on Sunday night. They got some things to figure out. Hopefully they figure out, Jonathan Taylor just getting into the end zone over and over and over again for the next 3 weeks. But, on to this week, Cobras are going to blow this whole load in the noon games. And then I've just got to sit back and watch. Jeff's whole team plays at like 3 o'clock and later. So I'm going to just watch Patrick Mahomes just claw his way back in. Watch him roar back. I was all set to pick Jeff, but let's go. Cobras.
Well, I'm definitely rooting for Pat Mahomes. Go, especially with the GIF earlier of the Rhinos. Give me the Rhinos.
All right, Jay versus Shane. As we just said, Shane can clinch the #1 seed here with a win, or Jeff lost. Shane could lose as long as Jeff loses. Shane won by 24 versus Jay back in week 3. He's rolling out basically the same guys, while Jay's squad, outside of the terrific Jalen Hurts, just pretty different. I feel like Hurts is playing at like the peak of what anyone could have hoped he would become. Like, remarkable story, easy to root for. And Philly has definitely helped him here. He's got the good line and the amazing receivers, the good game plans. But he is just really like just this apex of what we hoped Hurts could be. But I don't think it's going to be enough here. I think Shane gets a lead. I think doesn't let up. Jay puts a fight, but then Shane locks up that #1 seed.
I feel like Brandon hasn't let us know exactly where we're at right now as far as how many games behind I am. I don't think I'm in a position to pick the same games as you if I want to make a run at beating you. So I feel like I'm going to have to ride Jalen Hurts, QB4, 4 games with 50 points or more, top 60 this last week. How is that guy not in the fantasy playoffs? He is terrifying. The way they use him at the goal line, I don't know who your MVP is. That's a really interesting question right now as far as the league. But my league MVP is Jalen Hurts.
Wow. I got to go Burrow just because I'm biased.
Yeah, just not necessarily fantasy MVP, but like the
Micah Parsons MVP.
You know what? He probably should get votes He probably should get votes. I heard this year that the MVP voting is not just one vote per person. You're voting like the NBA does. You're voting for a top 5. I think Micah Parsons should be a top 5 MVP. Let's keep going. But man, I'll take Jay just because I believe in Jalen Hurts, and I want Jay to hear me. I believe in Jay.
Oh, that's sweet. How about not sweet? False John versus Chad. Hellhounds, 14-point win back in week 3. I think Chad comes out early. I think he gets his usual great game from Devonta Adams on Thursday night. He gets Dalvin Cook. He gets Justin Jefferson. Maybe Mark Andrews finally has another big game. Boy, those Dolphins are waiting on Sunday night. And they're playing against that dumb Chargers team that just can't seem to stop anybody. Assuming Waddle's injury is no big deal, I think the Hellhounds get the points they need in that Sunday night game. I think they give John the win. Really fun here. We got Amon-Ra versus Justin Jefferson on the field and in the game with these two. So I love it when that matchup happens.
Oh, me too. What a great game. You're wondering why the Hellhounds are perennial, even though a multi-time champion. I just wanted the first 4 bench players that are not on his IR that I just like to read off here are Russell Wilson. My God, can he look worse? Like, if you're a Bronco fan, yeah, it's a nightmare trade.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare trade.
4:03 p.m. Hackett has not yet been fired.
Yeah. Then he's got Jordan Love, OBJ, and Calvin Ridley, who is, I think, on a team, but I don't think he can play. Maybe there's this, like, maybe Fake John has something in his heart where, like, he just so believes in, like, the future potential. Kind of like how there's a particular wide receiver on the Browns, later the Pats.
That
had just had my heart, where it was just like, I believe in him. Maybe John's got that dog in him where he's just like, I believe in these players, and maybe that's what puts him behind the 8 ball in the league. But
I'm going to counter that with what I think the truth is. He just sees assets that he can try to trade to somebody.
Okay.
I think that's a name. Every one of those guys is a name, and he's like, well, somebody will want Russell Wilson. He's a name. But maybe it's you. Maybe you're right. The more aspirational. I'm more cynical.
Well, it's amazing to me how bad Russell Wilson looks. So bad I don't want to watch him. Like I don't want to watch Bronco games. And as someone who watches a lot of Red Zone, I don't get to watch him because they're never inside.
They're not on.
Okay.
Next up, True John versus Jeremy. Pharisees won by 25 points back in week 3. And as bad as Jeremy has been, it's been so much worse for the Pharisees. Like, who's even going to play at quarterback? Like, Jeremy's team is a wreck, but at least he's the easy favorite here. I think the dude abide wins. I don't even know what the Pharisees are going to look like this week.
I did not look at the waiver wire for what starting QBs will be available for True John, but I'm gonna take True John to beat the dude abides, because I can't root for the dude abides for what he's done to the season. And there's a particular player I'm not real fond of. So I'm going to go, I'm gonna just go ahead and take John. He's gonna scoop up Marcus Mariota or someone like that and lead him to a win.
Yeah. Oh, the Niners rookie. That's gonna be his guy. It's gonna be his new Kurt Warner.
If I were John, Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant, which I think is a great nickname after being Mr. Irrelevant. If he could pick up Brock Purdy for whatever bucks he has left. Now watch now. The dude abides will watch this show. Watch the dude abides now. Listen to this. We just upped the price on. We just set the market on Brock Purdy. But if Middendorf can pick up Brock Purdy look really good. Yeah. And then, like, all of a sudden he's got the starter for the 49ers because Jimmy G goes and signs, with the Jets or somewhere. Right. That'll be really interesting if this be Mark Bolger 2.0. He had Kurt Warner and Mark Bolger. So
he was tied in, locked in.
Maybe this is who he's looking for. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Here's our last one. Brandon versus Jason. Tolkien with a 7-point win back in week 3. This game could have been meaningful and exciting, but the Karate Kid had to ruin it by just destroying Middendorf last week. I wonder if there was a possible lineup you could have set that would have lost to the Pharisees last week. If there was any combination of guys that actually played, I think the answer is no. I didn't want to look it up.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
Karate Kids, even the series, they avenge the week 3 loss, get a fairly comfortable win here. Uh, Maybe Garoppolo getting hurt makes Kyle Shanahan like get creative and use the running back they traded all this capital for. Maybe Brandon finally gets this big Christian McCaffrey game that he's been waiting for, and he just rubs your face in the sand a second time this season. But I got to see that from the Niners before I believe it. I'm taking the Karate Kids.
God, I wish you would have taken Brandon because I can't root against myself. Love my team.
Yeah.
Feel like we're rounded into form. Got some guys in some good spots this week. Getting ready for a little scrimmage before the playoffs start next week. Can't wait for the playoffs. And Aaron, worst of luck this week. And
Yeah,
most importantly, worst of luck in the playoffs.
Yep. All right. Get a cramp.